Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Greetings to all to the realm of learning. Dear students, this is an online video class lecture of National University of Bangladesh, and I am Muhammad Habibur Rahman, lecturer, Department of English at Joshore Government City College, Joshore. Continuously with you, and at the very beginning, I would like to welcome to you all to this online study program. Dear student, this is the time of corona pandemic, and during this time your university has arranged this online study program, since it is not possible for us to conduct your normal class at your college classroom. Hopefully you are following this online study attentively, staying at home, and I think this class will be very much helpful for you to continue your study. So, hope for the best. Let's start our today's lecture. Dear students, you have already known that as a resource person, I am conducting the course named Romantic Poetry. That is for especially for the students of Masters Preliminary level who are studying at the Department of English. And I have already completed 9 lectures, and today this is the 10th. That means this is the last lecture as well, because it was supposed to complete the course within 10 classes. So that is why I will complete this course. I am going to complete this course within with this 10th class. And about your syllabus, and you have already known that my previous 9 classes I have completed the whole syllabus. So today basically I will show you the whole course, that means romantic poetry at a glance. So hopefully this class will be very much helpful for you, because in short way or in shortcut way you will have all the idea about romantic poetry. So let's start our class today. So at first, as usual, I will show you the learning outcome. Since this is the romantic poetry at a glance, so that is why uh, in the class you will find at first the definition of romantic poetry. Then you will find the introduction to the poets of romantic poetry. Poets, you have 4 poets for romantic poetry for this course, and you have already known that you have 9 courses for your syllabus, including viva and tutorial. And among them romantic poetry is very important course for you. And then you will find the introduction to the poems. So here in this course you have 10 poems, and then background of the poems, and then you will have the summary of the poems. So let's start. So now I should show you the syllabus. So this is the syllabus for romantic poetry, and I have already told you that you have 4 writers: William Wordsworth, S.T. Coleridge, P.B. Shelley, and John Keats. And I have already completed all the poetry or poems here. That is included in your syllabus. And the poems you have total here you have 10 poems. And I have completed a whole course with my previous 9 lectures. So today I will give you at a glance, or I will give you a short description of the whole poetry or whole course. So I think you will be more up and doing to follow this class lecture. So since this is the lectured on romantic poetry, so I should show you the definition first. Though in my previous classes, while discussing the various poems, so that times I also told you the definition. But since this is the formal class, so that is why I will show you the definition. So here you will find the definition. Romantic poetry. So romantic poetry mostly took place in the 19th century. 19th century, that starts romantic poetry, the romantic age of romanticism or age of romantic period starts in 1798. So that is the end of 19th century. And these poems are sorry, 19th century, this is the actually the beginning of the 19th century. because 19th century starts with 1800. So that is why. So this is the starting point. Basically, 1798. And these poems are emotional and focuses on nature. Nature is the main ingredient for romantic poetry, and the human imagination. This is the key, and this is the core for nature and imagination. So nature and imagination. You may so think that romantic poetry is romantic. The word romantic means the imagination. So the imagination is the most close synonym words for romantic. In other words, it focuses the sublime and the human imagination of unconsciousness. So here you will find it focuses, that is uh, a sublime. Sublime, it is the greatness, it is very deep or lofty, and the human imagination of unconsciousness. Here you will find the unconscious human imaginations. So the imagination or the thought that comes unconsciously or subconsciously. So this is the definition or idea about romantic poetry. Now I will show you another slide for romantic poetry. Here you will find basically romanticism, began in 1770s. So then end around 18 and 70. This is the overall idea from here. And here you will find basically the romantic subject with love and reaction against the enlightenment. In enlightenment, this is the age. This word indicates the age of neoclassical period. Before romantic age. So here you will have the reaction against enlightenment, and mostly focuses being against the strict and rigid society and rebellion. So this is the against the strict society, and here the emotion is greater than reason. So here emotion is the main fact, then reason. So reason is the main characteristic for age of enlightenment, that is neoclassical period, but emotion is the main ingredient for romantic poetry. And if you study the romantic poetry, so that times you should know the words romanticism. So here you will find the romanticism. So romanticism is the artistic and intellectual movement in Europe in the late 18th century. 18th century means 1798. This is the starting of romantic period, and characterized by a heightened interest in nature. Frequently you will have such idea nature, and emphasis on the individual's expression of emotion and imagination, and departure from the attitudes and forms of classicism and rebellion from the social rules and convention. So this is the departure. This is the against the convention, against the social rules, against the rebellion, or against the classicism. So such type of things you will find this. So romanticism is the movement for romanticity or romantic idea. So this is the movement, this is the activity, so by which or following this movement or following this tendency or following these activities, the writers wrote romantic poetry. So this is the idea, artistic and movement, intellectual movement actually. So now I will show you the characteristics of romantic poetry. Romantic poetry, the main characteristics, subjective, internal or not external reality. That will be subjective. Subjective means, that poetry are two types. One is subjective and another is objective. So subjective is the personal thought or personal story or personal experience of the poet or the writer. That will be subjective. And here you will find the irrational, that is not rational, that is not reason, there is no logic here, there is only emotion. So in romantic poetry you have the emotion, irrational, emotion or imagination, that is not reality, this is not logical. And you will have the imaginative, imaginative, that is dream like. And irrational, crazy, that is like crazy. So whatever is in your mind, that comes out with the pen of the writer. So this is irrational or subconsciously or instinctively that comes from your mind. So that times it will be irrational, not thinking the reality, not thinking the worldly limitation. And then it will be personal. So personal and subject is somehow related, and spontaneous, spontaneous, the word spontaneous, that is I have already told that instinctive, that is natural, actually instinctive or spontaneity, that comes automatically, that is inborn, that comes automatically. So such type of idea comes automatically, there is no pretension, there is no any man-made things, but the spontaneity comes from automatically. So such type of idea you will find in romantic poetry. And there will be a visionary, that, this is the idea of, so for thinking the future. So such type of words is visionary. And you will find the transcendental, actually this is the idea of mysticism, mystic idea, that is going outside of reality to experience feelings and emotion. And here you will find the mystic idea, the mysticism, the very word, this is very important, that I have already discussed in my previous uh, classes, previous 9 classes. Another slide, here you will find the love for nature, this is important, and love for beauty, so love for nature, Wordsworth is famous for love for nature and beauty, John Keats famous for love for beauty and arts. And melancholy, there is a kids poem, you find the melancholy, the love for supernatural, this is the supernatural, especially for the streak old days. And love for freedom, Shelley, you have the freedom skylark, like this, and importance of imagination. So such type of characteristics you will find in romantic poetry. So here you will find the nature is a common theme, supernaturalism, imagination, and value of the individual. So such type of and this is the same. And medieval subject, medieval, this is the middle age. So in the history of English literature, there is a some ages, the at the very beginning you will have the Anglo-Saxon period, and then you will find the middle age. So middle age will be called the medieval age. Then you will find the restoration period, then you will find the neoclassical period, and then you will find the romantic period. And after romantic period you will find the Victorian period, and after Victorian period you will find the modern and postmodern period. So in romantic period you will have the tendency to use the medieval subjects and settings. And poets felt unappreciated or misunderstood by the peers, by their company, or by the citizens of the world. Then this is in short. So in romantic poetry you have imagination, symbolism, emotion are essential part of romantic poetry. So I think this is all for the introduction, or all for the introduce with romantic poetry. So now I will show you the poet. I have already shown you that you have 4 writers or 4 poets. So at first I will show you William Wordsworth and its poem that is included in your syllabus in short. Okay, in short, because this class is the last class, and in this class at a glance I will show you all the poetry or all the poems that are included in your syllabus. So that will be shown in this class. So at first I will introduce you the poet with William Wordsworth. So William Wordsworth, basically he's the father of romantic poetry, and this is the birth and death year. And was the an English romantic poet who was an early leader of romanticism. You have already known that about romanticism, a literary movement that celebrated nature and concentrated on human emotion. So this is the very important idea for William Wordsworth, not only for William Wordsworth, but also all the other writers. And in the history of English literature, William Wordsworth, one of the greatest lyric poets. Lyric, that is the short poem, and there will be personal thought and addressing, and there will be rhyme scheme, or there will be I would say very much a song-like actually poem, and the history of English literature. So I cannot help mentioning the name lyrical ballads. Lyrical ballads is the part and parcel, are the synonymous for the romantic poetry, because with the start of lyrical blood, or with the publication of lyrical blood, that is written by William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge in 1798. the period of romantic period starts. So this is why it is very important. And in lyrical bloods you will find in the preface to lyrical blood, there in preface you will find this definition of poetry that is given by William Wordsworth. Poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings, and it takes its origin from emotion recollected in tranquility. So this is very important idea. This is the key or code definition for the poetry. So poetry always will be spontaneous. So spontaneity, this is the very important characteristic for romantic poetry. And there is a spontaneous overflow, and that will be overflow and powerful feeling, and there will be powerful feeling, and it takes its origin from emotion and recollected in tranquility. Tranquility, it is the in silence or in nature. So such type of idea you will find from William Wordsworth as well as the other poets. So now I will show you the introduction to the poem. So in your syllabus for William Wordsworth you have 4 poems. So the first poem is Tintin Abbey. In my first class I discussed on Tintin Abbey in details. So if you follow my first class, so that times you will have the details about the Tintin Abbey by William Wordsworth. But in this class, as this is the class at a glance for romantic poetry, so that is why I will show only the poem, introduction to the poem, and the summary, because time is limited. So introduction to the poem here, Tintin Abbey, the main name, lines written, composed a few miles above Tintin Abbey, on revisiting the banks of the Oy during a tour, July 13 and 1798. This is the poem of personal poem, that is the individual poem of, autobiographical poem also, because in 1798, so this is the age, so this is very significant age in the history of English literature. I repeatedly mention you, because in this age the romantic period starts with the publication of lyrical ballad. So 1978, this time the poet William Wordsworth revisits the place Tintin Abbey. Tintin Abbey, this is the place of Wales, including Great Britain. And Tintin Abbey, actually this is the broken church, or broken religious place. Abbey, actually the church. So they're revisiting because so he visited there sorry, more than 5 years. So this is the revisit, and after revisiting, the William Wordsworth had the idea to write this poem. So here, actually, we have the beautiful analysis, valuable and beautiful analysis of the 3 different stages in the poet's understanding of nature. And the poem was published, in 1798. So these 3 different stages is very important for this poem. So this is the early age. So early stage means this is the young boyish age, and then the so young age, and finally the third stage, that is the matured or the adult age. So such type of idea we have from this poem. So this is the very important idea from William Wordsworth. So this is the introduction of the poem. And you have already known that William Wordsworth is famous for poet of nature. So this very poem is the testimony, this is the evidence for making William Wordsworth as a poet of nature. Now I will show you the background of the poem Tintin Abbey. The poem has its roots in Wordsworth's personal history. It was occasioned by a short walking tour of the Oy Valley. Oy is the name of river in the southwest England, I have already mentioned. And basically Wordsworth went there with with his sister, sister Dorothy, took in July in 1798, and revisiting scenes and that a travel young William had first seen during a slow wander in the summer of 1793. So first time he went at 1793, and then the revisit 1798. Then he wrote this poem Tintin Abbey with the praise of nature, with the description of nature that is full of divinity. So such type of idea you will find from this poem. So this is very important poem. Now I will show you another poem, introduction to the poem. You know, this is the name of the poem is "It is a Beauteous Evening, Calm and Free" by William Wordsworth. You know, this is actually in details of this poem. I conducted a class in my actually that was the third class, actually third. If you follow my sorry, if you follow my second class, so that times you will find details about the yeah, about this poem. So you know, this is the poem, actually this is the sonnet, you know, sonnet, that is it's a lyric poem and carrying 14 iambic pentameter line, you know. And it also actually it is the written in 1802, and it was first published in the poems and 2 volumes and appearing the 19th poem entitled the Miscellaneous Sonnet. So this sonnet is also very important because it is a beauteous evening. Here also you will find a beautiful scenery, a beautiful description of beautiful scenery of William Wordsworth, and that is Calm and Free by William Wordsworth. Like Tintin Abbey, you will have the idea of nature from this poem. So it is a beauteous evening, calm and free. William Wordsworth was fascinated by the innocence of children and their natural connection to nature. You know, for Tintin Abbey, William Wordsworth went to the nature with her sister, you know, Dorothy. But here you will find that William Wordsworth visit the this beautiful, charming scenery with uh, with his, you know, children, or with his child, actually with his daughter, that is Caroline. The name is Caroline. And he viewed it as an expression of their deeper innocence, that they were not affected by the beauty of the natural surrounding the same way that he was. So in the poem, you will find the deeper innocence that are not affected by the beauty of the natural surrounding, the same way that he was, or not moved to tears that same way that he was. And thus he came to the conclusion that nature towards Wordsworth, akin to the divine, was lost when men grew older. So we have the idea, already we have the idea that, you know, William Wordsworth always find the divinity in nature. So that is called, this idea is called, you know, pantheism. So also you will find such type of idea in this poem, that is pantheism. And here in this poem, Wordsworth says, of course, such type of idea was lost when men grew older. So with the time of grew older and growing older, so that times man forgets nature. So but it shouldn't be. But William Wordsworth always find the divinity, the task of divine, that is the belief is called pantheism. So presence of God in nature. So here also you find, and in this poem Wordsworth also says the innocence of children. Okay, innocence of children. Her daughter Caroline is a symbol of all children, and here William Wordsworth says the innocence of children, who who have the who has the close affinity with the God. So such type of idea, I think, you will find from this poem. Now I will show you the another poem, not another, same poem. It is a beauteous evening, calm and free. So is the sonnet describe an evening walk on the beach with his 9 years old daughter, you know, that is Caroline, that I have already mentioned in my last slide. And also reflects that if his young daughter is seemingly unaffected by the majesty of the scene, it is because being young, and she is naturally at one with nature. And it is notable that this is the first sonnet that William Wordsworth ever wrote. So I think the idea is clear to you. Now I will show you the another poem that is included in your syllabus. The world is too much with us. So it's a sonnet, is also a sonnet by William Wordsworth. In the poem, the writers laments for the of connection between humankind and nature. You know, William Wordsworth is the worshipper of nature. So he's the poet of nature. But in this poem, he finds the, or he shows the of connection, the distance connection between humankind and nature. So, and blaming industrial society for replacing the connection with the material pursuit. So, the idea of this poem is totally different from the previous two. So that is why this is the another idea, and that you find the title, the world is too much with us. So you find the idea, the world is too busy, the world is so boring that we cannot, or I cannot handle it. So such type of idea or such type of meaning you will find from this world. So that is why the world is too busy, the world is too much boring or too much busy with his own activity, with the worldly activities, that the writer or we cannot keep pace with it. So such type of idea we find. So here the writer is very much boring, and writer is very much frustrated with the disconnection between humankind and nature. So for this reason, he blames industrial society for replacing the connection with the material pursuit. So we are only pursue so for the some money and time or pleasure, but we do not have the divine pleasure. We do not bother about the task of nature that is full of divine pleasure. And in this poem, Wordsworth wrote the poem during the first industrial revolution, a period of technological and mechanical invention spanning the mid 18th and early 19th century that truly transformed the British life. So during the industrial revolution, so that times the person or some man becomes, like machine. So that is why they have no time to go to the nature, they have no time to have the to feel the natural scenery or the divine pleasure from nature. So that is why the writer writes this poem. Actually the poem is criticism of the materialistic world in man has lost his connection with nature due to the worldly concern, and this sense in man has taken away their pleasure, joys and comforts of the peaceful nature. So this poem is very significant. I think you can understand. And if you follow my third lecture, so that times you will find details about this poem. The introduction to the poem, the next poem, the poem is London, 1802. Is a poem. Another poem is Patrician sonnet, by English romantic poet William Wordsworth. In the poem, Wordsworth uh, castigates the English people, criticize the English people as stagnant and selfish, or consider the English people as stagnant and selfish, and praises the 17th century poet John Milton. So in this poem, there is a connection of the poem in the previous one, the world is too much with the. So here you will find the basically two idea. So at first the writer shows, in sonnet there is a two idea or two part, so in the first part, you will find, so there you will find the idea of the people of England, that they are selfish, they are too much busy with their work, and they are stagnant, that is the like a watery grave, or watery or dirty watery place, whose water, or whose water is stopped, or whose water is very much dirty. So such type of uh, people are found in England that time, and that is why the writer William Wordsworth calls for John Milton. John Milton is a famous writer at the neoclassical period, and John Milton is the here the writers calls for John Milton to rescue the people of England, to rescue the England, his motherland. So also here also you find the tone or task of patriotism of William Wordsworth, because he is very much worried, or he's very much worried or concerns for the degradation or so bad situation of England. So here you will find that first William Wordsworth laments the state of England and expresses his fears about the health of the national characters. And second, it's an elegy for John Milton, a great English poet of 17th century, neoclassical period. And finally, it's just a ghost dreams good old-fashioned sonnet. So this idea you will find from this poem. So for central idea of this poem, you know, you will find two idea here. The central idea of the poems is, at first you will find, to show the deplorable state of England, that is a bad situation or very dirty situation of England, you will find. And then you will find further, it is to praise Milton the poet by calling upon him to raise the fallen people, and in the process telling the readers why exactly he is qualified to do so. So such type of idea you will find from this poem. Now I will show you another slide, or another poet, So that was all for the William Wordsworth. Now I will show you the introduction to the poet about Samuel Taylor Coleridge, the another poet that is included in your syllabus, romantic poetry. So Samuel Taylor Coleridge, in short, S.T. Coleridge. Basically, he is famous for supernaturalism, in the history of English literature. And with the joint work lyrical ballads with William Wordsworth, S.T. Coleridge, launched the Romantic movement in England. His famous poem, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. So this is very important poem that I have discussed in my previous classes. Maybe it was fourth lecture. Now I will show the introduction to the poem that is Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. So Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner is a poem, the longest poem in lyrical ballads. And here you will find various idea, elements of supernaturalism, a deep sense of history, lots of dramatic images of nature, and formal experimentation, and interest in conventional language. And the main theme of this poem, that is sin and punishment. So if you commit any type of sin, that is crime, so that times you will be punished. So such type of idea you will find from this poem. And there is a story, this is a ballad, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner is a ballad. So ballad is one kind of poem, there is a story. And of course there is a so dialogue and action, so in the poem. So this is very much unconventional actually, the ballad. So very famous, I think the story. And I discussed about the poem in my previous fourth lecture in detail. So I think if you go through that lecture, so that times you will find the idea. So the main idea is we have to love, or we have to love to nature. We have to love to the creator of God. So that times God will give blessings to us. But if we commit any sin or crime with the creator of God, so that times God will give us punishment. So such type of very universal theme you will find from this poem. Background, this is the romantic value, full of imagination in this poem you will find. And here romantic value, emotion of her regions, and emphasize the glorification and appreciation of nature. Also you will find the appreciation of nature. Actually time limited, within 40 minutes I have to complete, so that is why I need to be hurried. Here another poems, also Kubla Khan, that is the poem of also the S.T. Coleridge. Another important or famous poem, the another name of the poem, A Vision in a Dream. So in the poem you will find the speaker of the poem envision the landscape surrounding the Mughal rulers and Chinese emperors of Kubla Khan. Kubla Khan is the Mughal ruler and Chinese in 13th century in China. And he called or orders so his companies that Janudu. Janudu is the capital city or capital of Kublai Khan. And there he ordered his men that to be built a palace. So a palace, heaven-like palace. So such type of romantic idea you will find. And Kublai Khan is a poem of pure romance, and all the romantic associations are concentrated in short poem and brilliant achievement in the field of supernatural poetry. And in my fifth class or lecture, you will find the idea about the Kublai Khan in details. So this is the context, Kubla Khan, this is the image of Kubla Khan. It is one of the greatest strains of, basically it is a hallucinatory poems. A hallucinatory, hallucinatory, that is the full of imagination. So there is a presence of something in imagination, but not in reality. So this type of idea you will come from this poem. So that is why it is called the hallucinatory poem. So here you will find the, basically it also be called the fragment of a dream, because the idea of the poem the writer have, or the writer gets from his dream. So this is the simple about the poem. So now I will show you Percy Bysshe Shelley, the poet of revolution, or to the western nightingale, or sky, or to the skylark, sorry, nightingale for kids. So that is why Percy Bysshe also major poets of romantic poetry. He is famous for revolutionary idea or optimistic idea. So now I will show you the poem, Skylark. Skylark, is the ode, you know, ode actually the short poem. They are lyric poem, so formal and addressing someone. So here the writer addressed the Skylark as a immoral birds, or it is a Skylark song surpass all music, and it is a divine expression. So from Skylark you have the divine expression. In my class, class number 6, you have the details about the Skylarks, and I went through the all the lines of the poems, 105 lines. So if you go through that lecture, you will have the full idea about the Skylark. So in short, the summary of Skylark: at first you will find the strain of unpredicted art compared to different thing, and then you will find the art that as a human being we do not know, and there is a lot of things to compare. As a simile, you will have a lot of example of simile that the writer compares the Skylark to various things, and finally you will find that writers calls for Skylark to teach us your thought and origin of your music, though we can only sing sad song, and teach me half your gladness. So such type of appeals we find in the poem. So this is the critical appreciation of the poem. So this is the natural metaphor, full of metaphor and simile, and basically the Skylark is the heavenly bird and uncomplicated purity. And in Skylark we have a lot of idea that is to be followed by Shelley. Then I will show you the another poem of Percy Bysshe Shelley, that is Adonais. So Adonais actually, the pastoral elegy. So elegy, the poem that mourning that relies on or depends on nature imagery to the honor. So in the poem, Percy Bysshe Shelley writes this poem for the mourning for the departure of John Keats. John Keats died, so that is why to mourn or to honor so John Keats, William Wordsworth writes this poem, the very poem, very important elegy. Actually elegy, you have 495 lines and 55 stanza. So here you will find the poem, very poem, very famous poem actually. And here basically you will find this is the Shelley and this is Keats. So Shelley is the writer of the poem, and the Keats, for Keats Shelley writes this poem. And for the premature death of Shelley, this is the only 25 years old, and Shelley also has the premature death. The myth of Adonai serves as the model for death of Keats, dead while young, and Shelley's poems Adonai is the on the death of Keats. So this is the very important, and the image regret the honor of poor Keats. Keats died, in tuberculosis. So this is the idea of sonnet. Elegy Adonais, that so I have taken my class at in my it may be seventh class. You will find the details in my seventh lecture. So now I will show you the last poet, John Keats. So John Keats, very important. For John Keats you will find the poem of Nightingale, and John Keats is famous for beauty. He's famous for beauty, but you will have the another idea, pessimistic idea, or you will have the escapist. As a escapist, you such type of idea you will find. And in the poem "Ode to the Nightingale," you will find the nature, themes of nature, and impermanence and the permanence of nature. So here you will find the impermanence and mortality. mortality, actually impermanence and mortality idea you will find ode to night angle that I discussed in my 8th class. So here you will find the context so about ode to nightingale. So in ode to nightingale, also very important poem. So lastly, I will show you the last poem of your syllabus. So that is ode to a Grecianer. The poem actually, in my 9th lecture, so I have taken a class, a details class on ode to a nightingale. So it is ode to a Grecianer. So it is very important. This is the image or symbol of Grecian arts. So basically, it is a beautiful arts goes above time and reality. And in the line in this poem, you will find the very immortal lines: "Beauty is truth, truth beauty." So this is the very idea. So here you will find the idea of permanence for art and impermanence for human being. So this is the literary analysis that in the poem you will have stanzas, and this is the summary of this 5 stanza. So this is all. I think time is already over. So this is the source I am using to complete this class. So my dear student, that is all for the course. And I think so, you uh, you are with me, and this is the last class with you. So that is why I should convey thanks to you and best wishes for you. And before going to complete the class, I should say something for you. We are studying the romantic poetry or literature. So in literature you have many idea, but among them you have the two idea, that is the moral idea. So if you study any literature with your pure understanding, so that times you will have the very idea, that is we have to be a good human being or positive things. And if we commit any type of crime or illegal things, so that times we must be punished by the creator, or must by the creator. And as a human being, we all should remember the creator, to our creator. So this is the very thing. If we remember our creator, if we pray to our creator, so that time so we have that divine feelings. On earth basically, what is our motto? So our motto is on earth, we have the happiness, because we all must feel the taste of death. So that is why we all should pray or remember our God. And of course, so we should be a good human being. And as a worldly people, we have to survive in this world. So that is why, of course, we are studying honors or masters. So in this level we all should be ready for your worldly thing as well. So that is why, as a student of honors and masters level, you all should have the preparation for job examination, because after this completion of your honors and masters degree, you have to get a good job. So that is why during your student life, during your honors and masters level, you should spend at least 30 percent time for job preparation. This is the time of age of internet, age of so YouTube. So from internet, Google, you have all the idea. So I think you should at least spend 30% time for your job preparation. And really, so at last, I would like to thanks the National University Authority, because during this corona pandemic, the National University Authority has arranged this such type of platform. And that is why, and being the part of this online study program as a resource person, I feel really proud and happy. And I think these classes will be a great help for you. And if you follow this class attentively, so I think so that times my such type of work will be in will be successful. And before going to stop my class, so I will advise you another things, that without shedding sweets we cannot have the sweet. Without shedding the sweet, SWEAT, that is industry. So without having an industry, or without shedding your sweet, you cannot have the sweet. So you have to work hard, then you will have everything in the world. As well as you should practice a good moral things in your mind, so that you will have the worldly peace, as well as the life peace heavenly peace as well. So thank you very much. And I have a lot of limitation to complete the whole course. It was supposed to complete the whole course within 10 classes, and the authority, National University Authority, has given me only 10 days to be complete this course. So that is why it was very tough for me to complete this course within 10 days. And so that is why I have a lot of limitations. So, but I had always a sincere attempt to make your lesson easy and clear and comfortable. So really, I tried my best, but for my limitation, the limitation of exercise, limitation of time, or the shortage of internet connection, so etc. Limitation, etc. So that is why. But that is why I think. It is I am not 100% satisfied to give you my best, but I have tried my best to give you a best. So that is why thank you very much, my dear student, and all the best for all, and best wishes always. Allah Hafiz.